Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. You know, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to check in during the last couple of months with mayors across Ontario to see how they've been dealing. We've talked to the mayor of Burlington, mayor of London, two mayors near Ottawa, and now we've got Marc Bondy, who is the mayor of LaSalle. LaSalle is a town that is, I guess, in southwestern Ontario. He's going to tell us a little bit about it. He's going to tell us a little bit about his history. He has been mayor since 2018. Before that, he was deputy mayor from 2014 to 2018. And before that, he was in the insurance business. Mr. Bondy, your worship, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here.
So maybe before we get into questions about COVID-19 and how your town has been doing, tell us a little bit about you. So have you been in politics a long time other than the two stints as deputy mayor and mayor?
Well, this would be my 10th year. I spent 4 years as councillor, 4 years as deputy mayor, and now my second year as mayor. I grew up on a farm. My dad was a dairy farmer, started an insurance business in '63. Started with him in '84, and just recently sold the business to our two sons, Matthew and Marshall, which will be the third generation. I'm still working there. I'm doing both jobs, but the mayorship is taking more and more time. And my brother-in-law was the mayor he was in politics for 22 years, I believe, and always said, Marc, you should get back to your community. And I said, well, what's your only regret? He says, not being home with the kids. So I put in my head that I will try when my youngest daughter is 16 and she can drive, I will start politics and take a run at it. And I did, and successful in that run as councillor. And it's been great. It's a great feeling helping people out, and I really enjoy it.
And your brother-in-law, what's his position?
Well, now he was the mayor in Reeve. Before we were a town, he was the Reeve. He retired in, I'm going to say 15, 20 years ago.
So you sort of kept it in the family.
Yes, I guess you could say that.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about LaSalle. Whereabouts exactly is LaSalle?
Well, if you know where Windsor is, and I always joke, just drive south, and when it starts looking good, you're in LaSalle. But all kidding aside, LaSalle is one of the fastest growing municipalities in Canada. Our growth is second to none. Well, I don't want to say it's second to none. The demand is high. We have a fantastic trail system, which is about 32 kilometers worth. So people can bike ride, very active, healthy, vibrant community. We have one of the highest per capita incomes, just people moving here. And we're just almost as far south as you can go in Ontario. There's a couple municipalities south of us, Leamington being the furthest. I think you had Hilda McDonald, Mayor McDonald, on your radio show. She is the farthest southern point in Canada. LaSalle is about 33,000 population presently. We're building average 250 homes a year, and we can't keep up with the demand.
And why is it growing? Is this the suburbs of Windsor, or people wanting to live outside of major cities? What's the catalyst?
Well, it's funny because both my jobs, the mayor and my other insurance job, I ask people that, and there's all kinds of reasons, Brian. There's people who maybe worked in the States and said, hey, I want to come back to Canada to retire. There's people selling their homes in the GTA area, getting a big dollar for their homes and coming here to retire. Our warmer climate, our access to anything you want in Detroit, Michigan. We have all the sports, basketball, hockey, football, the airport, to Detroit Metro Airport. You can get on a plane and fly anywhere very inexpensively. And also, if you're a professional, there's a lot of people working in Detroit, but living in our area. We are a bedroom community to Windsor. It's just, there's more of a rural/urban area, LaSalle feel that we have. So everybody has different reasons, but a lot of it, the climate, we're the warmest area in Canada, to my knowledge, other than maybe Vancouver.
And how has COVID-19 impacted LaSalle?
Well, I think it's impacted the world, but LaSalle specifically, we haven't been that bad as far as positive cases. Everybody's been acting prudent and cautious. Our municipality, we have not had, as of last time we talked a couple of days ago, no positive employees within the municipality employed at the municipality that have tested positive. As far as affecting us, it affects how we work. It's you and I are on Zoom. Who heard of Zoom until March? And now everything is on Zoom or TeamViewer or some other form of communication, and it's different. From a council perspective, you don't have that cohesive feeling where meetings we would chit chat, and between meetings we just talk and how's the family. There's none of that. Now it's get on the Zoom, Zoom's over, and we turn the page. So it's it is a different, and I don't want to say normal because I don't want it to stay this way.
So I always thought that mayors needed to know and count their votes before they went into council meetings, and they did that by popping into people's offices or chatting with them and things like that. How do you corral your votes? How do you make sure you've got the support if all the meetings are by Zoom?
Well, that's interesting because we, as far as I have been around, which is 10 years, we never did that. We knew what the agenda was. We didn't pre-meet, if you will, to say, hey, I really want this to pass, especially now as the mayor. Come on, you 6 councilors, you have to vote with me. We don't do that. Everybody's entitled to their own vote, and as you say, corral the votes. That's something we've never done. So going on an issue, you never knew how it was going to turn out until it was time to vote on that resolution.
It would appear that LaSalle is primarily urbanized right near the river, and then fairly rural as you go farther east. So you've got the challenge, I presume, of both being urban and suburban and rural. Is that a challenge for you?
Well, some people are questioning because I grew up on a farm. It was 38 acres. It's still in the family. And now farmers are selling the farmland because it's a sought-after community to live in. They're selling for upwards of $60,000, $70,000 per acre. Farmers can't make that money, and they look at us and say, "Why are you developing that land?" But if you go back 100 years, all of this was bush or farmland. So wherever your home is, it was a bush or farmland at one point. So the rural area is still rural, and some of it will be more difficult to develop on because the province back in the late 70s, early 80s, basically sat down with the township of Sandwich West at the time and said, this is where you can develop. So a lot of the farmland where you said east and south of the urban area will stay rural for a long time to come.
What is Fighting Island?
Interesting. That was purchased by BASF. They're a big chemical company. The local area is Wyandotte, Michigan, but I believe they're headquartered in Germany. And they do, obviously, make a lot of chemicals. But they purchased it in 1899, I think, maybe 1898, and they've owned it ever since. And back in the 60s, if my memory's right, they used it to dump soda ash, which is a byproduct. And they've since reclaimed the island, invested a lot of money and time to turn it into natural heritage. And BASF entertains people from around the world that come over. They have some lodges made from wood from Northern Ontario, and they bring prospective purchasers, I guess, of their products in there to entertain. They go fishing, hunting. It's a beautiful island. If you're ever down here, let me know. I'll take you over. It's something you'll never forget.
So it's owned by one company, but you can still get, as residents of LaSalle, you can still get onto it?
With their permission.
Oh, okay.
And
it's almost the whole length of LaSalle itself. It's a massive island.
Yes, if you look at it, it wouldn't be. You're right. It's not the whole length, but it's a good size. I want to say it's almost 800 acres.
Do you know the governor of Michigan?
I know her, but I don't know her. We've never met.
Have you heard about this plot that was just uncovered today?
No, I haven't.
So the FBI have just announced the arrest of 6 different individuals that were plotting to effectively kidnap the governor of Michigan and several other people. Don't know if it was part of a white supremacist whatever the word is, group, but it would certainly appear so. But people that are opposing the role, the very active role she's taken in trying to reduce COVID-19.
It's over there. When I say over there, I don't mean Michigan specific, but what's happening in different states. I hear it on the radio and I just shake my head. We're blessed in Canada, and specifically in LaSalle. People are using common sense. If you're out in public, you don't have to wear a mask, but anything in a public place, you have to put a mask on. And you see people, my office is, insurance office is next to a variety store. So you see people get out of their cars, start walking to the door and go, oh, I got my mask, turn around and go put it on. So, but over there that you have the people who have that mindset. I shouldn't say just over there. I'm sure there are a few here that think they can do what they want when they want, and who cares about anybody else, and don't wear a mask. And now that she's implemented those restrictions, can't believe that they plot to kidnap her, but nothing surprises me anymore.
But you think that in Windsor, in your town, there has not been that kind of opposition. People have been reasonably accommodative of the provincial rules, the national rules, the guidelines in place.
Brian, there was an effort, I'm going to say 2 months ago, if my memory's right, where a group of people were trying to raise awareness of they're going to go into our big shopping center, Devonshire Mall, and protest by not wearing masks and go in the shopping center against all regulations. And it didn't hit the big number, and I don't know how many people even tried to get in. So by and large, I think most people here understand that. We have a big group of nurses that travel across the border every day to work in U.S. hospitals. And I think the majority of the people recognize that we have to help these people and support them. And some of them are staying in trailers in their driveways because they're distancing from the rest of the family members. So everybody in this area, I would think, is backing them and understand, because of the cross-border workers, especially the nursing and medical field, we're supporting them. I think that's
interesting. You mentioned that I interviewed the mayor of Leamington, which I did, and her big challenge was of migrant farm workers and housing those migrant farm workers, where when these individuals living in very, very close proximity to each other, COVID-19 hit them badly. Do you have an issue like that, or has it been controlling the people that are crossing the border that's been your big issue?
I'm just trying to see what the big issue is. No, we're trying to educate, make people aware of what we have to do. Not everybody agrees with what we're doing, but for the most part, we follow the Premier's Minister of Health, as well as our local health, Windsor Essex Community Health Unit. We don't have the amount of workers they have, migrant workers. We have, I don't know if they have 20,000 that come in. We have about 33 Mexicans that work on a farm. And as of yesterday, when I spoke to the owners of that farm, and it was in the local newspaper, they brought people in for testing if they had symptoms. One person showed symptoms, they brought him in, they found out he had leukemia. They had to isolate him. The owners of this farm even purchased a trailer so he could be isolated and stay in there, because he couldn't bring his wife in from Mexico to help while he was going through cancer treatments. So in our area, no, we don't have that issue. But I mean, we have 33 and they had how many thousands? It's a different situation. They have several different bunk houses, if you will, for the 33. So they're not all in one location.
So you said people, nurses that travel across the border to the United States to work in hospitals. Is that a large population of people that are crossing the border?
The last number I heard was we have 6,500 people that cross the border daily. Of that, I don't know how many are in the medical field.
And have you had any outbreaks from that group of people?
No, we get the local update, and it says, we have 3 today. There was 1 new case, and it was travel outside of Canada. The odd time you'll see it's the new cases related to cross-border travel. They don't get into specifics if it was a nurse or a doctor or therapist of some sort.
So it seems like you've got things reasonably under control. And what do you think that's because of? Is that because of the provincial rules? Is that because of your leadership? Is that a combination of things? Let us know.
I can't take any credit for that. Very, very, very small portion possibly, but no, it comes from the top down, right from our premier and to our prime minister to our premier in Ontario and our local health unit. Monday morning quarterbacking, we can always find fault, but I think by and large things work well. This is first ever, and I think everybody came together quickly, cohesively. At least here, we were dealing with flooding issues or high water levels, and then this happened, and we were having meetings daily, sometimes 2 meetings a day to see which way to go. But we were guided very well by our local health unit in our 7 municipalities in Windsor. I thought worked well together to put a plan in place. Some are a little different, but by and large, it's on the same path to keep everybody safe.
But then just across the river in Michigan, a very different story. Why do you think the difference?
I think some people think different. And I'm not going to say Michiganders think different than Ontarians, but we as Canadians think differently than Americans. They'll say, "Oh, you must be Canadian because you say please and thank you." And if you go to Florida or travel, you'll get that. It's just the way we are, and I think we're different. Do I say they care less or we care more? No, but I think it's just a different mindset. I can't pinpoint on one reason why, but I'm just glad that I am in Canada.
How's the school reopenings gone in your town?
Good. It's my grandson had a sniffle, so they have to get COVID tested. So I was personally went through that, and of course the whole family. There's 3 sons in that family, and my son and daughter-in-law, and we can't see them. It took 5 days to get the results, so everybody's isolation. And on an abundance of caution, that's the right way to do it. It's just going to be different for these kids. We're going to have these COVID kids going through reliving this in 20 years, thinking, remember the days we had to wear the mask and go on the bus and couldn't touch my friends or shake hands. And and this one who had the cold was athletic. So of course the weekend he sat out of baseball, sat out of hockey, and it's a different world we're living in. The kids are learning to be more isolated, which they're saying from a mental health perspective, that's not going to be good anymore.
It looks like Ontario has got one of its worst days and one of its worst weeks, even worse than the spring, and we're into a second wave. What do you think we're going to have to do as a society to ensure we deal with it?
Well, even locally here, we had a home that had a big party. So not everybody is going to adhere to the rules and regulations. And we're trying to be very mindful of the fact that people have to get out, if you will. Me personally, I think I've been to a restaurant once and we sat outside, and I live with a retired nurse and my daughter's a nurse. So it's the precautions are always there, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm out a lot in public, but I'm wearing the mask at the insurance office if people come in, or at town hall. But I don't know what's going to happen. The way forward is something I don't think anybody knows what we can do, Brian.
Are you part of regional government?
You mean county council, yes.
Which is what, Essex County or Windsor or what?
Essex County. There's 7 municipalities that make up the county down here. And
is Windsor part of it or separate?
No, Windsor's on its own.
Does regional government, county government work?
Yes. Yes, we are working. 7 municipalities. It used to be 22. It was regionalized, how many years ago was that? 20 something, I believe. And now we have the 7 municipalities. Yes, the 7 mayors and deputy mayors work well together. We work a lot in tandem with Windsor. This regional area is Windsor-Essex County, as the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit and Windsor-Essex Chamber of Commerce. It's not just Windsor, it's not just the county. On a lot of things, like the local hospital we're trying to get Premier Ford to give us the money. We work together on that to fulfill our obligation as far as raising money. We have to raise 10% of the $200 million we have to raise. So everybody's working together in that region, but Windsor-Essex is still a separate region.
So, a year and a bit ago, there was a lot of questions about whether the Ford government would be doing amalgamation of different regions into cities. They used the example of Ottawa that absorbed Orleans and Gloucester and Canada, Hamilton that absorbed several different adjoining towns and cities into a larger Hamilton. Does that make any sense in Windsor and Essex County?
I can't see when we went from 22 to 7 where we could go even further. I mean, at the end of the day, Premier Ford says you have to do it. We would do it, but we're all unique in our own way. When you talk to Hilda, Leamington has its own dynamics. Yeah, Kingsville has their own dynamics. It's more different population style. Amherstburg is spread out bigger. Lakeshore has a huge rural area. So everybody has a uniqueness, and if we came together as one, we would lose that. And I think there's something special when we talked about earlier, people moving to LaSalle. It's not they're not moving to other areas in Essex County, Windsor included, but there's something specific about LaSalle after we have that #1 in growth year after year after year. So we'd have to do it if they mandated it, but I wouldn't be for it.
The 401 touches your northern border. You've got in Windsor, I guess, a new bridge to Detroit being built. Some people are talking about high-speed rail from Toronto to Windsor. What do you think is the infrastructure that would most dramatically improve the whole Windsor-Essex County area?
Well, we joke that Ontario doesn't stop at London. It starts in Windsor-Essex. The new Gordie Howe Bridge, as the Ambassador Bridge, is the most traveled cross-border crossing, I believe, Canada, United States, and the amount, I don't know the numbers of the amount of goods that cross the border. But definitely the bridge would be the #1. The nice thing about here is if you cross the border, we will have 2 bridges and the tunnel, which is owned by the city of Windsor. The high-speed rail, we have a lot of Americans come out, well, used to. They come across, take the trains to Toronto. It would be something different. So the high-speed rail would possibly increase the tourism if and when we get out of this COVID situation.
Anything else you dream of?
Yes, but I can't tell you all those dreams because some of them aren't realistic, but most of them are personal. I've always been one to wake up in the morning and say, I'm living the dream. I get to wake up. It's a good day. I had some not serious health issues, but enough. And it makes you realize what's important, which is family. And the town means a lot to me, and family is #1.
You've got listeners from across Ontario listening to you right now. Do you have a message for them, sir?
Stay the course. Don't lose your patience. Treat others as you would want to be treated. It's a time where people are very short, very impatient. Let's not lose sight of fact. When we look back, this will be a short blip in what we had to go through, but we will succeed and we'll go through this together.
We're chatting tonight with His Worship, Marc Bondy, the Mayor of LaSalle, a town just south of Windsor, just on the western edge of southwestern Ontario. Pleasure speaking with you tonight, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Brian, thank you. It was my pleasure. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Thank you. We're going to take a break and come back with some more on this show in just a minute. Stay with us.